Well, I would go as far as to say that if motorways hadn't been built, I wouldn't have continued actually, taking work out of town.
We expected to pay 12 and 6. 15 shillings was considered rather over the top. I went once, I remember, to a digs where the sheets were absolutely black. And I said to the landlady, it was in Lancashire, no, these sheets are really black, could I have clean sheets? She said, it's all right, it's a miner sleeps in them in the day, and he's very clean. The sort of jazz I was involved with contained many people who drank, a lot. And so we established ourselves in various sympathetic venues, or one might call them watering holes. Water didn't enter into it, in this area.
I want to die for sweet Georgia Brown. I'll tell you just why. You know I don't lie much.
Ah, yes, the Free Trade Hall. It looks in pretty good nick. It doesn't look as if it would require much to turn it back into a working hall. The outside, mind you, the foyer and so on, are pretty desolate, pretty collapsed. But here, it's in surprisingly good shape. This was the poshest venue in Manchester, really, equivalent of the Festival Hall in London or the Philharmonic in Liverpool. I don't remember it as quite like that. I remember it as much more beige-coloured, I think this paint, the reds and bright blues and greens, are probably a 1960 by the colour scheme. But otherwise, it looks pretty well unchanged. And everybody played here in the early 50s, especially, or when there was a great passion for revivalist jazz, which Humph was the clear leader. We played here on various occasions, usually in conjunction with other bands. And it really is a place with a history, because later on, in 1957, when the American and British musicians' unions made up their quarrel, which prevented American musicians coming over here because they refused to take English musicians over there, can't exactly blame them. People like Louis Armstrong played here.
That folks are crooning, soft in love. You need to tell me, boy, because I know, yes, when it's sleepy time down south.
Well, you mightn't believe it, looking around now, but this was the #1 dressing room here. And here's presumably what was part of the wall, or at least part they haven't painted, and it's got great classical names on it: Yehuda Menuhin, Thomas Beecham, Arthur Rubinstein, and so on. But for me, a particular moving quality is the signature here, Louis Armstrong. I know people say Louis, but actually in America they call him Louis. He did stick to a very fixed repertoire, which we rather regretted. We wanted him to play some of his early recordings, but he was very practical. He taught us actually that jazzmen, great jazzmen, are much more practical. We'd say, how long are you playing tonight? He'd say, 20 minutes, not a minute over, not a minute less, And we found out they were pros.
My mama call her other daddy's name. I heard my mama call her other daddy's name.